Welcome to this latest edition of the Real Deal podcast. I'm your host, Ril Dil, as I discuss the world of just pop culture. For this podcast, of course, I am wrapping up. We are wrapping up the series finale of Insecure season 5, episode 10. Everything gonna be okay. And of course, this was the last episode of the entire series. It was an episode that really ended the way it probably should have ended, and not too many complaints from me, to be honest with you, in terms of how they went about constructing this episode. Um, I'll get into that, you know, I'll get into the legacy of the series and some other things later on in the podcast. But we begin where we kind of left off. If you remember, in the last episode, there was a mini fight. It wasn't even a real fight between Nathan and Lawrence, of course, at the at Tiffany's party, the party at Tiffany's parents' house, as they are sending off Tiffany. We're sending off Tiffany and Derek to Denver, um, and they get Lawrence, and Nathan gets into it with Lawrence. Issa, and Issa's just kind of standing there as she looks confused at the end of the episode. And then we start this episode with the fallout from that. We have Nathan and Issa in the car, and basically Nathan is like, "Look, can't do this anymore. This is, this was embarrassing. My mental health can't stand for this type of, like, not Issa's toxic, but this relationship as currently constructed, as it currently stands, is toxic." So he basically tells her, he has to step away, and that is basically the end of their relationship as a couple. Look, we're not surprised by this at all. We never, and even shout out to Tiffany Quinn, who couldn't be on the program with us today, um, this episode. But we never thought, her, never thought that this was that Issa was going to end up with Lauren, not let alone end up with Nathan. Um, I think that they probably, again, I can't see any other way that they could have done this as far as having them break up. Again, a lot of people complained about this season as far as people were saying that there was too much Nathan in this season. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think, first of all, the actor that plays Nathan was tremendous in this series, Kendrick Sampson, in this season. He really was. His, you know, dealing with the mental health and his, just the body language and facial expressions, and you could tell in this scene that he was going through it, with, like, that he was done. Like, yeah, and that guy, the guy did a tremendous job throughout the course of this season, in particular when we kind of zeroed in on his mental health, and what had some of the prior issues that he had. I thought he did a phenomenal. Again, I think that they probably. I'm trying to think that, if there was not a Nathan, if there was less of Nathan, then what does that look like for uh in terms of Lawrence and Issa? So you couldn't have too much Lawrence and Issa. You couldn't. The idea of what made the Lawrence and Issa scenes great in this season is that there were not that many of them. That those each one of those scenes had to count, and Nathan was a kind of like, and having the Nathan character that kind of kept kept Lawrence at bay. And, like, yeah, I don't think else. I just can't think of how else they could have written it from that standpoint. So I completely disagree. Anybody that says there was too much Nathan, I completely disagree with that premise. I think Nathan was necessary to make the Lawrence scenes count, to get the most out of the Lawrence and Issa scenes. So Nathan and Issa are a done deal. And again, great performance by Kendrick Sampson. with this particular scene. And by the way, Issa did not exactly fight for Nathan. Like she wasn't back when he made the decision. She wasn't like, I know we can make it work, and she kind of was like, yeah, yeah, okay. Not saying that, but she didn't fight for the relationship. So that lets you know. That lets you know all you need to know, that deep down she wasn't all in on their relationship, and we knew that. We knew that both of them were not all in on that relationship. That it was a relationship out of emotional convenience, and those never are long lasting, to say the least. So we just go directly into the best scenes. Now, this was a unique episode from the standpoint that there were a number of time jumps over the course of this episode, and mostly involving the main characters' birthdays, uh, and they progressed over months and even years, to be honest with you. So we begin with Molly's birthday. So this is, Molly is at the pinnacle of her happiness. They're celebrating her. Her mother's there. Um, you see, Issa's there, and she's, you know, her and Torian are together. So this scene was really the happiest that Molly has ever been. Um, maybe in the entire series, to be honest with you. So Tiffany comes up. Tiffany, and matter of fact, Tiffany, yes, Tiffany comes up from Denver. So everybody's there to celebrate Molly's birthday. And she finally she gets introduced to basically to Torian's people, his family. So she gets to meet his family. So everybody's together. Everybody seemingly is in a good place, and you have Molly and Issa, of course, talking. Um, and of course, we get introduced to Kelly's new boyfriend. Um, to Kelly's new boyfriend. Certainly, we'll have more about that. So it's a scene where everybody's seemingly is in a good place, and Molly gets introduced to the family of her future husband, of her family, of Torian's family, and you see the last appearance of her mother, Carol, who who again was at that point alive and well. So again, Molly's in a great place in this particular scene. So we didn't go on to Issa's birthday. So Issa has a surprise birthday that was coordinated by her assistant from the block, and also Molly, who you remember both early in the season they did not get along. So, but they found a way to coordinate this birthday for Issa. Um, you see, again, the energy in that particular scene was great, until until Nathan pops up, and Nathan and Issa have a conversation. Um, he gives her something, gives her a gift that was donated from the shop. Um, it basically says, basically they kind of make amends, um, in that particular scene where you see Nathan, where you see Issa say, you basically you came into my life for a reason, and they did not, didn't they neither one of them was comfortable with leaving it at the way they left it, with the scene in the car. So they're in a good place. They everybody, Nathan's happy. Issa celebrating her birthday party. Issa, they try to hook Issa up with a dude, for some birthday D. And you see the girls again you see everybody, the girls, them together, all having a good time at Issa's first birthday party. There were multiple birthdays between Issa and Molly over the course of these scenes. Then we move on to Tiffany's birthday. So they go to Denver to this like mansion that Tiffany and Derek have. Um, Tiffany's not working. Um, and I mean, and Tiffany, a couple of things come out from that. We realized that Tiffany is just not happy in Denver. She's not happy. Does not, not the whole housewife thing is not working for her. And then we have a shocking, the first, shocking scene of the episode. Molly and Issa are going back and forth joking. Then Molly gets a call from her brother Curtis, and Curtis tells her that her mother Carol, has passed away. You see Molly break down. You see Issa kind of trying to comfort her, and that was really the first shakeup of the episode. A lot. Issa would spend, there were a number of scenes where Issa, I want to say, and I want to bring this up before I forget it. There were a number of scenes where Issa, after that, was trying to contact Molly, but could not get to her. She would call her, and get no answer repeatedly. So I'm thinking, I'm not like I'm really thinking that there was not a. I'm not thinking that there was a falling out, but I'm thinking that Molly just kind of, went into, that was part of Molly's grieving period, as she's grieving, because Issa was there, uh, when Molly got the news about her mom dying. So it's not like a situation where, she's trying to contact her and her mother's died and Issa doesn't know about it. Issa. So no, Issa was there when all that popped off. So to me, and they kept going to that, like they kept going to where Issa would try to contact Molly and get no answer. So I think that there was a period of time where Molly just kind of did her own thing, and this, I guess, again, that was a part of her grieving, where she just kind of was in basically may have been in isolation from the rest of the group. Because Issa's her best friend, so if she's not speaking to Issa, I don't think she would have been speaking to, the other girl, her other girlfriends. So we get to, Lawrence's birthday. He's being serenaded by his mother, which was hilarious. It was kind of hilarious. Then he gets a call. Um, oh, let me go back. I almost forgot this. Let me go back to the Molly to the Molly Issa scene at Tiffany's birthday. So before Molly gets the news about her, mother passing away, from her brother Curtis, there's a scene where she asks Molly asks Issa, you know, what would have been your answer had Lawrence picked up the phone? Like what would like Lawrence? Because you remember when if you a couple of episodes ago when Issa called, I think it was episode 7 when Issa called Lawrence, and not mistakenly, but she was drunk and they were drunk and high. And Molly tried to get her, said basically told her no and tried to, cancel, tried to like, stop her from making the call. So they have that conversation. Um, and then Issa, then of course Molly gets the news of Issa of Molly gets the news of her mother passing. So I did not want to forget about that. So then we go to Lawrence. So Issa calls Lawrence on his birthday. Lawrence picks up. Issa it's kind of an awkward phone call. Issa is kind of surprised that Lawrence did pick up on his birthday. They kind of have a conversation that, where the energy was off, was just a tad off in regards to, I think, I think she probably caught Lawrence off guard. Um, she offers to take him out for his birthday. Of course, he had plan, of course, but he has plans with another girl, seemingly a girl that, that he's dating at this point. Remember, this is the girl that was from, she was in earlier this season. Um, they were having dinner. This is the same girl that they were having, that her and Lawrence were having dinner before Lawrence's son was born. So before he gets the call to go to the hospital, that's the same was the same young lady from earlier in the season. So apparently they're dating at this point. So which means to me which means that him and Condola were not together. So I think that was the important part of showing her and showing that there was going to be a possibility for an Issa Lawrence reunion, uh, reunion per se, getting back together because they were not because Lawrence was not in a relationship at that point with Condola, because he's dating this girl. So I think that was an important part of that scene of showing her. But basically, you had the Lawrence Issa conversation. I wouldn't even call it a conversation. It was more about it was more of Issa reaching out and and now, mind you, keep in mind at this point, um, at this point, like Issa does not at this point Issa does not have is not dating anybody at this point. That would later change, but at this point, Issa is not dating anybody. Then we go to um, Kelly's birthday. So Kelly brings back the dude that she introduced earlier in the season, not season, an episode. Turns out, and Kelly has a big announcement. She announces that she's pregnant. We also find out that Issa is involved with a guy that she met on one of the sets of the block. One of the shootings or sets that they were from that from his name was I think it was Nasir. So she's dating somebody now. Um, and Kelly does Kelly stuff at the party. Kelly announces, and Kelly, of course, the biggest announcement is Kelly announces that she's pregnant as well. That she's pregnant, and says that when she died, she, at first she wasn't going to have kids, but this is the guy that she wanted to have kids with, decided to have kids with. Again, out of all the predictions that I got wrong, the worst prediction I had this season, I'm sure Tiffany Quinn would definitely get on me about this, was Kelly, the fact that you know that throughout the course of the series of this season, I predicted that Kelly was going to die. I they I'm still trying to figure out what they were trying to convey with that storyline, with that narrative about her character throughout the course of the season. I don't understand why they kept hammering that. At least 8 out of the 10 episodes, there was a mention of Kelly's. There was a death reference to Kelly. So I don't. I'm kind of confused in terms of that what message they were trying to send. Maybe I I'm trying to think the death of her previous life, as far as we she ends up she does end up working with Molly, in terms of doing the brokerage part of the law firm. So maybe the death of her but still that's still the same work. She just ended up working with Molly, but that's still I just guess I guess I don't understand what that they were trying to uh, do with that. I'm definitely confused by that. I would love any thoughts. Any thoughts or comments about why they kept referencing Kelly's death over the course of the season? I really don't. And again, it got to a point where you know the, where they were not going to kill her after, especially in this last episode. I kind of resorted my fate as far as being wrong with that particular prediction. But I thought that I definitely thought over the course of the season, especially the first 3 or 4 episodes, that there was no question that they were going to kill off the Kelly character. I was dead set and confident that that was going to happen. So again, I would love to hear from the showrunners, Issa, Prentice Penny, whoever writers, about what they were trying to convey with the Kelly death references. But Kelly's gonna be a new mother. You have Issa is in a seemingly happy relationship with this dude, though. Um, before she's about to have sex with him, gets a she gets a call from Lawrence, um, and or she gets a call from Lawrence and what have you. Now I get a call from her. She's thinking about Lawrence. It was a call. She's thinking about Lawrence, and she turns. She just ends up going and having sex with the guy. They off scene, off camera, off camera. But that lets you know what was going to be inevitable, and that was, of course, the Lawrence and Issa uh, connect. Trying it. Going back at it as far as getting back into a relationship. And Lawrence walks into Issa's spot, her office space, and basically, picks up where he left off as far as the conversation went at Tiffany's party. Um, at Tiffany's going away party, where they basically are gonna try to take another shot at it. So we see them kiss, and then we see Lisa, of course, awkwardly, clumsily knock over a cup of coffee, which is which was classic Issa D. If you watch this series, and again, I don't have. I know throughout the course of the season that I predicted it that Lawrence would, and he said that I didn't see Lawrence getting back together. I understand that, but when you really think about it, there was really no other way that they could end the series, um, unless you just wasn't going to have Issa. Now, I mean, you could have had Issa with nobody, but I just think that there was. I think probably those two probably belong together. Like they're more than likely they are soulmates. So I don't I did not have a major problem with it, to be honest with you. It wasn't, listen, the way they did it. I had zero problem with how they did it. It wasn't some cheesy, mushy, uh, live happily ever after type ordeal per se. Like who again, who knows if they get married? Like Issa's, as this episode progressed, Issa became we see that Issa's growing as far as her company's becoming more successful. She's driving a Lexus. She ends up with has a new place. Okay. I don't think that was I want to say that scene with Lawrence, his son, and that was his. I think that was her place. I believe that was her place when they celebrate her next birthday. So I think that I have no problem with the decision to reunite Issa and Lawrence. I think that I think they played it out the way they should have played it out. And again, when they had scenes in this particular season, you can think about episode one and the scene where where basically she says she can't do it. Those scenes, the scenes you think about the last episode, those couple of scenes, that scene, they made that the Lawrence and Issa scenes pay off. They made those scenes count. So I don't I think you could just got I think we got enough Issa and Lawrence not to where it would just became kind of oversaturated, to be honest with you. So I think they made those scenes count. And I think Issa and Lawrence probably should end up together. So we see Molly gets married to Torian. Um, we see that of course Torian is a partner. We see that Molly and Issa share a number of moments at the end of the episode that kind of paid tribute to that relationship. Um, Multiple scenes. The first one, you see, one of the scenes you see when Molly celebrates another birthday, where Molly is kind of thinking about reflecting on her mother's passing. It's her first birthday without her mother, and how real those feelings were. Um, it's kind of like they're going back and forth saying, when did life get so real? There's clearly been, like I said, they I think those phone calls missed those her missing all those phone calls were intentional. Not so much that she was angry at Issa, but that it's clearly these their lives are clearly headed in different directions. They both are highly successful. Molly's in a committed relationship at this point. Um, this is before Issa. I think this might have been before or after Issa reconnected with Lawrence. Either way, she was in a relationship. So and her business is growing as well. So they kind of give you some of the you know not pitfalls, but they kind of give you some real life shit. Like people, no, it's not so much grow apart, but as we age and as life goes on, you see priorities take over, and you don't have much time to spend with even your closest of friends. So I think they kind of gave you that a lot of that with Molly and Issa, despite how close they are, and they finish in terms of they finish up to the up in the season up finish up in this episode. Um, Very touching scene between Molly and Issa at the end of the wedding where she's helping her change. Um, and you see her say, as long as you're with me, as long as you're here, I'll always be okay. She thanks Issa for everything she's done for her. So they gave the proper closure to that relationship because that was the most consequential relationship in the entire series. So you're ranking relationships, it would be Issa, Issa Molly, then probably Lawrence, and then probably Lawrence and Issa, in that order. So those were the two most important relationships. And then I would rank the girls as a whole, with Issa, Molly, Kelly, and Tiffany, that relationship. So those are the top three relationships in this entire series. So I thought they did a great job with just expressing how much these two young ladies care for each other, and that their relationship is fine is completely healed from the strapnel that we saw them go through in season 4. Um, and you see Molly get married. Then you see Issa have another birthday, and it seems like when she has this birthday, that years have passed. At least 2 years have passed by because you see Lawrence's son. Lawrence's son looks like he could be about 4 or 5 at least. And then last time we remember one of the previous times that we saw him early in the season, he was a toddler. Not an infant, but he was a toddler. So it's at least it maybe two. I would say guessed anywhere from 2 to 3 years have gone by. Again, Issa has the Lexus, has a brand new place. Um, so you see them get ready. You see them get ready for her birthday. Lawrence is going to take her out. Again, we're going to take her out. Um, she takes her, and then we see her take a drive. As it kind of as they kind of gave a final series montage of some of the landmarks and some of the places that made the series what it was, as far as notable places. The Dunes apartment, Lawrence and Issa's first apartment, the Dunes, which has become enormously popular. I mean, every time you see people go out to LA, you see a lot. You see those pictures. People take pictures to those apartments with those in front of those apartments all the time. Um, Out there when they out there. So you saw that. You saw the We Got You. And matter of fact, one of the girl who used to work closely with cut her hair off. She has her hair. She was there. They gave her. So I don't think we had saw her since like season 2. I think Issa quit. I forgot the season Issa quit her job. Maybe season. I think she quit her job at the end of season 2, beginning of season 3. I want to say season 2, 2, 3. in that range. All these seasons are kind of run together outside this season, but they showed, the young girl that she worked with closely at that place. You see the Best Buy, of course, that's with Lawrence. One of Lawrence's first job, one of Lawrence's jobs, one of his many jobs that he had, and basically it was a love letter to L.A. So the series ends with um, Issa and Molly. Molly's in Greece. She calls Issa to celebrate, Issa's birthday, and you have them kind of conversating, to how much they miss each other. Um, and, Molly's bragging about how much sex she's having on her honeymoon with Torian, and basically the series wraps up with those two kind of sort of abruptly, but the episode had to end. So it was like I don't know how you I don't know. There was there was no perfect ending. I don't know how else you're not going to. The perfect way to end the episode was probably with those two having a conversation like that. That probably was ideally the way that the episode should have ended. So there you go. 5 seasons, 44 episodes. Um, the MVP of this episode, Issa Rae wrote this episode, so I probably have to give her the MVP. Um, Molly had a great performance as her mom, when she got the news that her mom died. I think the two best performances for Molly, um, as her mom is, she gets the news that her mom has died, and Nathan in the car when he knows that the relationship is over, and he basically tells Issa that it's over. Those are the two best performances in this episode. I would say the MVP though is Issa Rae. I mean, who else? The creator. She wrote this episode. She brought the show to life from Awkward Black Girl, the web series. Um, and really, you look at the legacy of this show. Uh, I, I I think it's a show that we'll be rewatching for years to come. I know I will. Um, it's definitely will be a rewatchable show. First of all, because the episode's only 30 minutes, but only 30 minutes long, and only 5 seasons, 30 minutes. You can binge that easily. But I also think that that this show really explored relationships and explored as far as what this show is going to mean to the culture. I think it could add it to the culture. It's part of the culture. Like there's television. I mean, you can't. It's part of the legacy of HBO as far as some of the great shows that they've had over the course of their long and storied history. That's gone. That I mean, I think HBO's been around 50 years now. I think HBO started like in the '70s, the mid to early '70s, late '70s. So HBO is pushing. Yeah, HBO is pushing 50 years. So listen. You can't write the history of. You can't talk about the history of HBO without talking about this show. This show is a part of The Sopranos, The Wire, Sex and the City, all those great shows that HBO's had over the course. Succession now, and some other a number. I mean, too many shows to mention. Uh, this show is a part of that. I mean, that's all there is to it. I mean, I think that if you had told me that this show when season one came out, I said, okay, well, okay, well, I'll check it out. But there's no way. I think this show clearly overachieved in terms of what the expectation was compared to what we thought that it was going to be or thought that it would become. I mean, the show just became a cultural phenomenon, and I didn't hear anybody predicting that back in 2016 in season one of this show. Season one, I didn't hear that at all. So I think that this show is something that listen, I'm not gonna sit here and put it up there with the golden era of television. We know those shows, where it's The Wire, Sopranos, Breaking Bad, Mad Men, shows just it's not on that. I'm not, even Game of Thrones and shows like that. No, I'm not putting it up there. But it's I mean it's a different type. It's a different flavor. But I mean, the point is the show stands out from a standpoint that we really never have seen a show like this on on cable television and told from this perspective of someone who began the series as extremely insecure, and she ends the series finally. I think it's safe to say secure. I think it's safe to say that Issa ends this series as being as secure as you can possibly be, can possibly that she could possibly that we possibly hope that she could be, considering where she started. So again, I think that this show will be a rewatchable show. As far as this season goes, I think that season 4 was better. Like I probably would put it. I don't know. I gotta really think hard about how I would rate how I would rate these seasons all time, all 5 of them. But listen, I thought the season was very good. I think the season, like this episode, served its purpose. They had 10 episodes. I think about what could have been what they could have like what stories could have been expanded on versus stuff that they could have taken out and we didn't need to see enough of. I can't complain a lot. I don't listen. We've already talked about the Nathan stuff. I didn't have any problem with the Nathan with the Nathan stuff, uh, or the Nathan character, or like I said earlier in the episode in the podcast. You have to have a Nathan. You couldn't go hard with Lawrence and Issa this season. It just like we saw that for seasons 1 and 2. We saw that towards the latter part of season 4. They had the Issa. If we don't get Nathan, you get too much Lawrence and Issa, then the payoff for what we saw this past episode, or what we even saw the previous episode, it wouldn't work. It just wouldn't work at all. So I don't, I know a lot of people didn't like the Nathan character. Um, Molly, you know, ends up where ends up. I loved how they completed her transformation from where she started. So all these characters, for the most part, ended up where they probably should have. You know, Tiffany in a place in Denver, in a place that she doesn't want to be because of her husband's job, probably where Tiffany should have ended up. Kelly again, Kelly pregnant in a relationship, a little unpredictable, but you know what? Kelly's unpredictable. So like I said, Nathan, doing his thing with the barbershop, not with Issa, that never was going to work out. Lawrence and Issa, we've already talked about that. Um, I don't know. Again, I don't know what else. How else could they have ended this series? Um, I'd be curious to figure. I mean, I'd be curious. Um, I've heard a lot of stuff, a few things about about how the series ended. You had a number of people that really were not feeling this season per se. And again, I just I've talked about this over the course of this of the podcast throughout the course of of this season. It is very difficult to wrap up a series. Forget about series finale, but to wrap up a series, final seasons of a series. Like trying to think about some successful final seasons of a series. A lot of people didn't like The Wire season 5. Breaking Bad, of course. I think Breaking Bad probably did the best job in recent memory of Breaking Bad and Boardwalk Empire in terms of just of a season and then a series finale. Well, the best series finale of all time is The Wire. Go watch The Wire, the last episode of The Wire. That is by far the best series finale. It's really not even close, to be honest with you. People hated The Sopranos, but that has aged well, as far as I'm concerned, as far as how they wrapped up The Sopranos. But overall, again, I think this show will be talked about for years to come. Issa Rae is beyond, like, she has her own production company. She's there are a number of actors that we didn't know who they were before the show started. Jay Ellis and Yvonne Orji. I hope I pronounce it. I probably messed up her name. Um, there, so they made star. This show made opened up a lot of doors for a lot of black writers, for a lot of showrunners, for a lot of just you know, the show put a lot in the ecosystem, especially in terms of the culture. So hats off to Issa Rae, the creators, the writers. The show will be long remembered, and I enjoyed watching the show, especially this particular final season, this particular last season. That's going to wrap it up for this latest edition of the Real Deal podcast. I will see you next time. I'm out.